So in terms of like that learning one thing, so when I take lectures in college right now, so when I ask students about do you have any question, there are only 4 to 5 people who are actually excited, and most of the time their questions are like the same thing, that I want to be a Java developer, what should I do, or I want to be a Python developer.
Okay. Oh, got it. Got it. Oh, your question was from that angle, that
This is my new question.
technology wise you are talking.
Actually, this is my new question. That's I'm asking.
Oh, okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
Sorry.
what?
Continue. Continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is most of the time these students ask me questions like this, that I want to be a Java developer, or I want to be a Python developer, or I want to be a MERN stack developer, this kind of thing. So I gave
Mm,
my answers on my own at that point. But what
mm.
your take on it? Should students, when they are in the last year, should go for a Python development course or Java, like focusing on one single career thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I would suggest strongly against it. Like focus on one particular um, language or one kind particular technology, and because basically college student haven't even started seeing industry yet, right? How can you decide if, let's say, Java is right now, how is it used, or is it even important right now in industry, right? And even if it is important, you are constraining yourself in and around that particular technology only, right? And at some point, basically each and every technology is going to get deprecated. So uh, so I think if you stick to that, you will basically have a very hard time switching from, let's say, Java at some point to, let's say, a new language or new technology, which basically will come after 5 or 6 or 10 years. Because career is basically lifelong, right? For example, from age of 20, 24, 25 till, let's say, 40, 45. So if you stick only that I want to only do coding, or I want to only basically work on Java, at some point even you will get bored, first of all. And even if you don't get bored, that technology is going to get replaced by some other technology. So for example, if you I think most of the people might have heard about, let's say, backbone.js, or maybe those kind of frameworks which were very famous at one point, ember.js, right? Very, very famous technologies back in 2000, I think 12, 13. Right now, I don't know many companies who are using this. Everyone has switched to Vue.js, React.js. Few of are using Angular, right? Yeah, basically every technology will get replaced at some point, and at that moment you will basically see that you are limiting yourself. So actually, I'll give you my example, right? So when I was in college, I passed out, by the way, in 2011. Back in 2011, basically the only technology that was taught in colleges were C++. Only those are the languages that and maybe some MySQL part, right? But when I joined, let's say, Socrates Technologies at that moment, which is basically a parent company or sister sibling company of Online Sales. So if you can say, it's the same company. So when I joined back in 2012, I was told that, okay, you will be working on Ruby on Rails. And I didn't even know what Ruby on Rails was at that time. I was given a book on first day, that this, okay. So I told, like, I don't know about Ruby on Rails. So what should I do now? So they were, don't worry, we are there. We will help you out. So my mentor actually gave me a book of PDF, which was around like about 200 pages or. He said, start reading. There are good problems out there. Open IRB terminal and start working on it. Hola, okay. So I started working on it. Day one passed, day two passed, day three passed. So on day two, he came to me and said, dude, you're only reading. You're not executing anything. Hola, okay. So I started coding as well, side by side. So whatever small problems they were giving, I started working on it. So in 3, 4 days, actually, I completed most of the book. And I was given an induction project, that this is your project. Write a tech spec, start coding. You have, let's say, 3 weeks of time to write a tech spec, implement that, test it, code it, and then deploy it as well. And okay, so yeah, so that was a huge learning, that the technologies which are taught in colleges or which you think you will be working might not be relevant in industry, right? Or when whatever company you join, they might not be using that technology, but that doesn't mean that company is not good. So you might grow in a certain company because of technology you might not know, right? So yeah, so that was my personal example, and we don't use Ruby on Rails anymore, but yeah, at that time Ruby on Rails was actually also used, which actually got replaced after that by Django, and let's say now I don't think anyone uses any of those.
So basically, we are back to square one. Is that your problem solving capability is more important than the language that you use? And
Yeah, so languages and everything, those are kind of very trivial things, right? And you can learn them while you join any industry, right? Or those people in industry will teach you those languages or those kind of technologies when you join. So I think you should focus on fundamentals first, right? Basic data structure, basic algorithms, basic problem solving skills are the must.
yeah. So I used to give those people answers based on their career only, that you are limiting yourself. But this is a very good point that you made, that you are limiting yourself. That is one thing, but the technology itself can go extinct because the speed of the technology is so rapid nowadays. Every day a new JavaScript framework comes. So with the speed of the technology, the technology that you are interested in, that itself might go extinct in some years.
Yeah, and basically what also happens is there is no perfect technology or no perfect language out there, right? So for every problem or every product or every feature that you are building, you might have to use different technology or different languages. For example, if you're writing a service which is just a DB service, right? Just IO kind of operation, you might go and use Node.js. But let's say if there is a processing involved or something like that, you might have to work on something like Java, uh, right? So even if you know either of those, you will have to learn one additional language. Yeah.
So like let's bring back discussion with the college stuff. So basically many like right now whenever you see discussion about the difference between the college education and the what is required in the industry, many people say that the college students are not aware with the latest technology, which is like AI, NLP, ML, these kind of things. So what has happened is, I don't know, I personally don't like this, that many colleges have started lectures or projects or subjects related to AI, ML, NLP directly. So if you open any student resume, they have projects directly on ML, NLP, and these kind of things. And if you just ask the student just to reverse the array, he's not able to do it.
Yeah.
So I understand that you should be familiar with new technologies, but new technology doesn't mean AI, ML, NLP directly.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're right in pointing that out, right? So even we are hiring right now, we are hiring lots of freshers as well as experienced people, and we see this kind of resumes coming in, right, where they are writing like, I know AI, I have worked on ML and everything, right? And I'm not sure about that, but yeah, so like you said, they don't know about how to reverse that algorithm, right? Yeah, so like I said, you have to focus on fundamentals, you have to focus on basic data structure, basic problem solving skills, basic algorithms. Once that is done, I think these are like higher technologies and everything can be learned later. But once you get confident to this kind of things, then you can go for that definitely, but that's optional is what I can say. Because, and second thing also, what I have realized recently, right, while taking interviews, most of the people are using inbuilt language functions, right? For example, there might be reverse as a inbuilt function in like multiple languages. If I are basically while doing coding, right, or programming, you will directly use reverse. So that is actually causing a certain amount of problem, right? Where basically if I throw a problem like do a reverse of this kind of array, they will have to think. Basically it's a very simple, again it's a problem solving, right? You doesn't have to label it as a array reversal or something like that. But because of this inbuilt functions, basically basic problem solving what people are right now doing is basically solving like harder problem, right? And in basically while doing that, most of the people basically start thinking, oh, this is very tough, cracking job will be very harder, right? Because they are directly dealing with the tougher and harder problem, which ideally they can, but there is a time when you can solve those problems. You have to basically start with array reversal without using reverse function. And step by step you will reach there. But if you directly go there, everything will look harder at that moment.